Hi everyone, welcome to week 5 of Inner Strength and Outer Peace. We've made it, we're almost to the end of the program. I can't believe it. Thank you for joining me live or in the future, and welcome. I've got kind of a lot of our random props today, but I want you to use what you have, and I want you to feel good about that and confident that whatever you have available to you is going to be exactly what you need, and that if you don't have what I have, that we will be able to adapt accordingly, because one of our themes today is adaptability and the other is acceptance. And in a world that involves some level of core conditioning, and certainly in my world I often get a Pilates-based mindset coming my way, certainly I can attract a little bit more of that certainty-based mindset that wants some rules and some guidelines and might be slightly less comfortable with the abstract. However, we're going to be embracing this idea of acceptance from a place of empowerment today. I invite you to. I hope that this exercise expands your mind in a way that reminds you that acceptance is actually not a passive act, but instead it is a means of expansion. It's a means of engaging into tension with the expectation of being able to release some of the constricting energy that is actually holding us back from finding solutions and relief for our stress and for some of our problems that feels very limiting in our lives. And whether that is just navigating through challenging times or whether it's feeling just stressed out in general, it's a means. Engaging with acceptance is a means of helping us to create more space. And so that's kind of the intention today, is both creating space and also engaging into a mindset of adapting, finding the best way forward for us. So I do have a fabric band. We're going to be doing a little bit of side work for our hips. I also have a strap, and we'll use that again for some support, for some stretching towards the end. And again, a bathrobe tie or anything you can use that will support you through your legs if you need it. You can always use your arms and hands. We'll put that to the side. I do have some of my weights to the side. We may or may not use them. I just always have them kind of handy. We're going to be working a lot with our body weight and also with the resistance loop today. And again, whatever you have is just fine. And I do have the ball for some support and also some inner thigh work. Whatever you have, a pillow will be just fine. And then today I chose for this class to use both a bolster and some pillows, just to make it a little more universally acceptable, because I did not say that this program was going to be foam roller specific. However, if you would like to use a foam roller and you have one available to you, if I were just doing this beginning sequence on my own, I would most likely use a foam roller for myself, so vertically this way. But when I'm teaching my class in the yoga studio and we don't have foam rollers, I often just used a bolster and a yoga block, or a bolster and pillows, just to give us some semblance of alignment. So let's get ready to create some space. The idea for our beginning warm-up is that as we reduce the resistance in our body, the tension, the holding, the striving, the grasping, the clenching, all of that stuff, then we can also begin to potentially reduce some of the suffering that we might be feeling. As a person who lives with both anxiety and depression, and who doesn't tend to publicly show it, share it, yes, show it, not so much, the freedom that reducing that tension can bring to your heart space, to your breath space, to just that general abdominal space is unparalleled. It's a lifeline in many cases. So I invite you to enjoy with me this beginning piece as we create some space. Let's stand at the edge of your roller or your bolster. If you are using a roller, often I just like to put it in between my ankles so I don't have to worry about it rolling away. If not, you can stand facing forward. And let's just arrive on the mat, allowing your feet to be very wide. Just feeling your weight drop down and taking a moment to just scan our body like we did in our practices, our audio practices, from our toes up through our ankles and our lower leg, our knees. And of course, if you need more time, you can always take that time or pause and investigate. But for our purposes, it's just a quick inventory. Where are we experiencing tension, and where might we want to spend a little more time, put a little more focus today in class? Is it an area that we can just kind of shake out and release at the beginning of class, or is it something that might need a bit more attention as we move? And then as we get ready to come down onto the mat, we'll just begin to nod your chin yes towards your throat. Just start to roll down gently. And if you need another strategy to come to the mat, maybe this is where you first initiate that mindset of adaptability. I just like to let everything hang forward. And some days a roll feels great, and some days it's a hinge, and some days it's a squat or a kneel. And as we come down, bend your knees, and then when you're ready, just whatever way makes sense for you to come down on your roller or your bolster, yourself. And then we'll make our way all the way down onto your back, making sure you're fully supported and just finding your way towards comfort. So regardless of what you're laying on, I'd like you to really feel that sense of support. Like the object is holding you, like you're able to rest your weight down into it, and it doesn't feel too precarious, but also you're very aware that, there's a distance between the floor and your body. And I just like to start with a little rock side to side. I was teaching recently a similar sequence in my class, and sometimes when you start picking up your arms or legs, you realize that what you thought was center was not quite center, and we were laughing because we were saying that our brains were gaslighting us as to where center is, and it was obviously a joke, but sometimes we do feel like we're on center, but we're not actually there. We tell our body that we're balanced because that's maybe what we're used to feeling, but we're not actually where we need to be to maybe balance with one foot. So let's think about dropping the weight of our pelvis, remembering that image of the bowl becoming heavier, dropping the weight of your rib cage, the image of the bell becoming heavier. Then we're just going to start with some simple hip folds. So when you're ready, let your hip become heavier, and then maybe draw your right knee into your chest, gently coming in and then lowering down. And then we'll alternate side to side. So let's remember last week where we engaged into a beginner's mindset, almost that idea of everything old is new again. So even the simplest of movements become interesting and curious. And as we go from side to side, we just see what's the least amount of tension I can use to make this happen. Am I able to gently bring my knee into my chest, and can I lower my foot down without making a sound? Is it possible to simply just be quiet as I control the weight of my leg back to the mat? We'll do about 4 more here. And then the next time you bring your right knee up into your chest, let's bring that right leg up And then we're gonna open it out to the side, just gently. You'll find that the need to be heavier on the left side will probably be quite high. And then you'll bring that right leg back in and lower it back down. And then let's do the other side, bringing the knee up, opening it out to the side, as much or as little as you can, bringing it back up, and then lowering it back down. We'll go again, lift the knee, opening it out to the side, back up to the center, lowering it back down, and then once again to the left, out to the side, and just exploring that movement of the hip. And if you need to go slower, you are more than welcome to go slower. Now this time, let's bring the right leg up. Option to extend your leg up to the sky if you like. Open the leg out just as wide as you like. No need to go any wider than is necessary. Come back up to the ceiling and lower down. If that's not available to you, just keep the knee bent and do what we were doing a moment ago. Extending it up, opening out to the side, definitely playing around with where maybe it's going to be useful to put a little more tension into your arms, working with the pressure into the ground through your feet, through the back of your body. We'll go one more time to the left, reaching out to the side, bringing it back to the center, and then do one more time either side, whatever your choice is. And then I'm gonna go ahead and switch us out so we have a different angle here. So maybe you've stayed with tabletop to the side, or maybe you've gone ahead and reached up with the leg nice and long. Just finish out your last side, and then come back to the mat, and we'll go ahead and float our arms up, palms facing each other. We're gonna reach to the ceiling, and then wrap your shoulder blades as much as you can around that bolster or that roller. Sometimes what I think about is almost as if I could grab it with my back muscles, like I was going to pick it up or something. So we're reaching to the sky, and then we're wrapping around. And again, reaching up and wrapping around, and reaching up and wrapping around. Thinking about both sides of your back staying nice and long. And we'll do just a couple more like this, just warming up those back muscles. On the next one, let's reach up to the sky. Let's wrap around and stay. And the game I like to play with myself is, can I open my arms and touch the middle fingernail on either side at the same time? And the answer is always no on the first round. And then keep it up. So opening your chest, staying nice and wide across your collarbones. We'll open the arms out, and we're just seeing, can we create some balance? Can we open the arms and almost touch the floor simultaneously? So I'm looking for that. I'm looking for that satisfying moment of symmetry, which may or may not happen. But here's the deal. The acceptance is in the fact that perfection is not guaranteed. Oh, but it's close. But the joy is going to be found in the pursuit of the game. That's what I'm here for. I'm here for the pursuit of the game. Just here. What can I do? I don't even know. I can't look. I can't see. I'm not going to cheat the system. Oh, what did I do the last time when I got closer? It's just that moment of play and release and surrender. Can I find it? Oh, so close. Let's do one more together. If you find yourself being frustrated, I want you to remind yourself to adopt that beginner's mindset. Like, just pretend you're a child trying to win a prize, and It's almost like the harder you try, the worse it gets, right? Turn your palms forward. Let's bring a W down to the mat. So elbows come as close as possible. And that is tight for me today. And then we're gonna rotate our palms down. Your palms may or may not touch. We're just gonna bring them as close as you can down to the ground. Keep your elbow connected to the floor, the mat, and then rotate your palms back in that W. And go ahead and groan if you gotta groan. That's my rule of thumb. And we're just gonna rotate that W a few times. If you're struggling with rotator cuff tension, or if there's anything that doesn't feel quite right, my rule of thumb is to always lessen the range and learn about it. So if I go forward and I'm receiving like a hard no from my body, I want to try to move in a range that is just a slight yes. Like, what can I learn about a little bit of movement? Is there any possibility? And if I'm still getting a no in that tiny range, then honestly, I know it's time to seek some help. But if I'm getting a little bit of a yes, then maybe it's just about rest or some support or some ice or some anti-inflammatory sometimes, Good. We'll do one more time, rotating it all the way back. And then we're gonna go for a big stretch. So once again, just kind of finding your fingernails against the ground. Let's reach up to the highest and widest V you have overhead. It's gonna be wider and higher for some of us. It's gonna be more like an I for some of us and a wider V for others. And then let's pull it back down into a W. You can go as low as you like, as much as you need for your own stretch. And then we'll reach it back up a couple times. So just a big open, feel your collarbones come into that V. And then as you pull down, maybe they come a little bit wider, more into like a nice wide line across your chest. And then they reach back up into that V. You can let your rib cage widen across your bolster or your roller, and then pull it down once again. Such a great kind of flossing for your biceps and your chest muscles, but sometimes definitely a place of maybe unrecognized tension or unrealized tension. Definitely a place of discomfort for some of us. Often breath can help. Good. Will we do one more? Let's do the last one. All right, reach it up. And then we'll go ahead and just pull down, unfold your elbows, maybe give them a shake at the bottom, maybe roll those shoulders a little bit, and then let's float your arms up. Let's make fists, and we're gonna use this tension to our advantage. So we've done a lot to try to release tension, but now we're going to create some tension in our hands to see if we can create some space in our hips. So that's the thing, like when we decide to use tension, it becomes a place of empowerment, but when the tension decides to use us, it often does the opposite. Life lesson right there, yeah? All right, so let's take our tension, create some with our fists. We're gonna go back to our original exercise where we brought our right leg to tabletop. Now, do what you can to open that right leg out to the side. This time, we're gonna really concentrate on finding that weight through our hip, weight through our rib cage. You're gonna use those hip muscles to come back to center and then come back down to the mat. Then we'll go to the other side. We've got a couple of different things going on. The fists are helping us with something called recruitment. So sometimes by adding tension to an exercise in an area of the body that isn't obviously part of the exercise, you can help turn on some support. Let's go side to side. You can stay with me at my pace, obviously, or you can go at a pace that works better for you. Other times, give you something to hang on to. If you feel like you are better off with your arms on the floor, by all means choose that. That's your agility. Make the best choice for you. The acceptance is that it's not the easiest thing to do in the world, right? And I think there's another piece of acceptance in this one is like, there's definitely a cheat to be had. You could roll over and just get through it, right? You could let the tension take you over, or you can really concentrate on being centered on your bolster or your roller or whatever it is. I think it's a little harder on a roller too, admittedly, so maybe one arm down might be a good strategy if you are using a roller. Let's bring the right leg up, open it out, bring it back to center, and then we'll do one more with the left, and then we'll move on from this fun exploration. Hopefully you feel it's fun too. All right, good. Let's take our arms, reach them towards your legs. Curl your chin towards your throat, look up to your legs. Use your arms to come up, and we're gonna add the band for just a moment. So let's take the band and go ahead and put it around your outer thighs, just above your knees. And then we'll come down for just a moment. And you can rest your hands for a moment wherever you like. We're just gonna take a little bit of a wide stance, so we're starting with some tension on the band already. And then I always like to think when I'm doing outer thigh work that I start from my hips. So even though that logically doesn't make sense, I'm thinking of pressing from the part of my thigh bone that is connected to my pelvis. So almost like as an image, my hips are getting wider and then they're getting maybe narrow. And I'm thinking my hip bones, if that makes sense. And then recover. So I'm thinking wide through my pelvis and narrow. Now, as we work through these outer thigh presses, I want to remind you that we have so many images downloaded into our brain about what our bodies should look like that quite honestly have little to nothing to do with us. So as you're working, just think about when you widen your hips, you are better balanced, you are stronger, you are able to take up space, you are grounded in your stance, you are often able to move faster with more just strength and choice in your gait. So with all of these different options as we're practicing here, just know that the idea of width brings with it power and choice, and that's a good thing, you know? Good. Press and pull. And again, press and pull. Just a couple more. Excellent. All right. So once again, we're going to find that pressure, reach our arms up to the sky, take a breath in, curl forward, reach your hands for your legs, curl up here, and find your connection. Now, what a lot of times happens is we lose this resistance when we come up. I want you to encourage a little more resistance, come up a little higher, find that connection. Release your hands, press down into the bolster or the roller, and then roll all the way down. If you need to keep your hands there, of course you keep them there. You can release the band a little bit. So we're going to press into the band, reach your hands, curl yourself up. Use your hands on your legs, come up a little higher, press through your hips. Keep the band activated as you reach. And roll all the way back down. Yes. All right, press, reach, curl, help yourself a little higher. Don't release. I'm watching my legs. They know what to do. I'm teaching the class and they still want to release. Here we go. One more time. Press, reach and curl. Help yourself up a little higher. Hold it there. Don't release. Reach all the way down. Good. All right, reach your arms down by your sides. We're going to go through just a few articulated bridges. If you're not articulating your bridge, you might want to just come up into a glute bridge and lower all the way down. And for my neck, I'm going to remove one of these pillows just for a little less flexion here. So I like the feeling of the bolster as I roll up through. It feels nice, and this isn't too much flexion on my personal neck, and then I like pressing the air out of it as I come down. If you need a different situation, you can always come off the bolster or the roller, okay? Just a couple, rolling up through the spine, pressing it open at the top, nice open hips, and then rolling all the way down. Good. And just get some movement through that lower back as you press to the top, and then all the way down. Good. And then let's take the last one here. Good. And then just reach through your hips all the way to the ground. Excellent. Release your legs. You can go ahead and I'm like, which one do I want to take off first? I hate to miss a moment where we get to lay down on the mat after being on the bolster. So let's take our bonus for a moment. Put the pillows to the side and just take your moment. Just let everything fall back just for a second. Notice the width that we created. It's just too good to miss, not to miss. Yeah, not to miss. Good. All right, when you're ready, let's roll onto our sides for a moment, and then we'll come up and we're gonna come onto our hands and knees for a little sequence series here. We did this stretch the first week. This is a little hip stretch, and we're gonna take it into a lunge sequence. So we'll take our hands underneath our shoulders and our knees under our hips. And then let's go ahead and send our leg out to the side at hip height. Remember, we're looking to have this at a 90-degree angle at the hip, and then we're gonna walk our hands forward. And so we just did a lot of outer thigh work, so let's just explore what it's like to really activate, kind of charge up those outer thighs, and then hinge at the hips to send ourselves back so we've got a nice inner thigh stretch as we reach. And then we're sending ourselves forward, and you can go into as much of a hip opener as we come through all the way forward. And it's really to your comfort. So some days it feels really great to move forward into a full kind of hip opening for me, and other days not so much. So whatever is for you is there. We'll reach all the way through, all the way back, and we'll do one more. A little pop always feels good. Good. Now this time as we shift forward, let's bring that extended leg forward to your lunge. We'll keep our hands on the inside for a moment and just come into the hip stretch of your choice, looking for a nice open hip flexor here. You can press into the outer edge of your foot, creating space through that inner thigh and through the back leg, the hip flexor of the back leg. Good. All right. We're going to get into a little bit of heat building, a little bit of balance. So let's go ahead and tuck the toe of your back leg here. We're going to walk ourselves up towards your front knee, and we're going to go ahead and tuck the back toe and lift your knee and walk up onto the knee of the front foot. So for anybody who has had any reformer experience, we're going to square our hips forward. You're going to extend the same arm as back leg, and then extend out to the side, the opposite arm. So our goal here is to straighten the front leg, and we're going to reach the same arm as the front leg directly forward, lifting up through the center and reaching. The back heel is still off. As we bend the front knee, reach it forward over your second and third toe, come into a deep lunge, and just stretch and reach forward. So we're going to go up, reaching through the crown of the head, and then reach forward. Now, we're really expanding into the up space and the down space here, but we also just did a lot of side space and side support through our outer thighs, hard to say. So think about those outer thighs and how they can support you here. Maybe you're pressing out into the imaginary band. Maybe you're feeling your arms hold a little tension to help you find your control. Maybe your collarbones are wide. Maybe it's your back that's wide. Maybe you're finding the pressure into your mat. We're gonna go 2 more. Good. Reaching up. Take it all the way down on this one. Let's go ahead and take your hand to the ground and find your twist. There you go. Really nice. Came out of nowhere, but we did okay, didn't we? That's it. Let's take your other hand down to the outside of your leg. You've got all this space. Press weight into your hands. Slip your opposite leg back. Let's find your plank. And then let's go into your up stretch for a moment. Just pedal out your feet, finding your calf stretch, finding your arch stretch. Good. Lifting both heels. Let's press forward into your plank and just find a really calm, spacious plank. Opening your hips, reaching through your collarbones. And lift through your center to find your pike. Reaching nice and high, hips to the sky, spine lengthening in 2 directions. Finding your plank again. Working your breath throughout. Good. And once again, pushing and lifting to your pike. Just enjoying it, taking up that space. One more time to your plank. Reaching through, reaching forward. Good, let's find your pike. And then let's bend your knees to gently come down to the mat. Excellent. Untuck your toes for a moment. And we're gonna get ready to go to the other side for your other stretch. So let's extend your leg out to the side. Make sure you're in a flat back. Make sure my microphone's staying in there. And then walk your hands forward and we'll get ready for our hip glide. So reaching your hips back over your heel, stretching your inner thigh nice and long. Reaching through your spine and then walking your way forward as far as you like, all the way through. Good. Every now and again, reminding yourself that the purpose of today is to really drop into a space of acceptance. And again, not passive, but a place of acknowledging the reality of this is a practice. It's a physical practice that integrates your core support. It's a progressive practice that we've been working on for a period of 5 weeks now. That it's a mental practice as much as a physical practice. And that the way that you speak to yourself through these various challenges definitely matters. So maybe considering how you can better help yourself navigate through the next side might be helpful. Let's go one more forward and back. All right, let's shift it forward. We're gonna bring it into your lung hip stretch and just opening up where you need the space. So for some of us, it's gonna feel like we need a lot of space through our hip flexor. And I always find the inner thighs need a good deal of space too, so I like to roll out on that outer edge of my front foot. Good. All right, when you're ready, stand back on that front foot. Make sure it's solid, ready to weight bear. We'll tuck the toe, walk up, find your lunge, square your hips, find your balance. You always have that option of finding what you need. And we're gonna go ahead and Hello. Reach the same arm as back leg forward. Reach the opposite one out to the side. Find your deep lunge. Straighten the front leg. Reach the front arm straight out over it. This is the one, this side is always a little wonky for me, so I'm trying to find that alignment and the proper tension instead of the tension that wants to pull me down. And then we go down to the ground, bending the knee. Good. All right, so always kind of shining a laser beam outside or out over your second and third toe from your kneecap. Part of why this one's wonky is that tighter hip flexor. And on the other side, it's just a different situation. Yeah. So sometimes the space we need, or the space we want, is not necessarily the space we're ready to take up, you know? Good. Reach. That's it. Couple more here. Let's go one more time. Reach into that deep lunge. When you're ready, let's take that hand all the way down. Find your twist. Good. Go ahead and take your hand to the ground. And then let's step back into our plank once again. Then from here, go ahead and lower down to your knees. Now, if you need a pillow or a knee pad under your knee, now would be a great time to get it. You can use the bolster you used, or you can go ahead and use the pillow. So wherever you lowered your knees to, and I'm just gonna walk my plank back a little bit. The easiest way to find this is to be in your plank and then lower your knees. And we'll all be on our knees for a moment. We're gonna round our spine back and feel the stretch with our hands in the same position as they were in our plank position. So it may or may not really look like it, but my tail is tucked under in what we call a posterior tilt. So my lower back feels rounded. Whether or not it looks that way is a whole other situation. Same thing with my upper back. I'm in a deep abdominal curl as much as I can be, and I'm trying not to yell at you in the microphone, but my head is tucked in. We're going to try to deepen this curl. It's almost like if you were a snail trying to tuck yourself deeper into the snail shell. So we're going to tuck the tail more, press into the knees, and start to lift your spine up to the ceiling. At this point, you're very activated in your abdominals, probably the most you could be without lifting your knees off of the mat. As you continue to come forward, keep tucking your tail under, keep rounding your back. There'll be a point where you can't do anymore, and that's the point where you start to press your hips forward and you start to uncurl and ripple yourself down into a little bit of a push-up. We're gonna slowly come all the way down. So we've just rippled down to the mat. From here, it's almost like we're pressing rewind a little bit. It's very hard to do this slow, by the way, but we're gonna push through our knees and push through our hands. We're gonna lift our hips. We're gonna do a little arch, and we're gonna round our spine. I will say once you kind of get going, it gets a little easier to do faster, and I'm gonna show it to you at tempo so you understand. In the event that going all the way down and all the way up to the mat isn't happening for you, you can always just do a little spinal cat wave ripple here. So you can omit the push-up, and it feels quite nice, and you just play with the edges. It's almost like how far forward can you go before you feel like you're going to bottom out of the movement, and how far back. So the objective for this one is, like, again, in the name of agility, kind of, or adaptability, I should say, choose your own adventure. You know, how far can you go? And then in the name of acceptance, finding like the space, how much space can you create, and where can you find just the right amount of resistance that doesn't feel like you're forcing it. Okay? All right, here is the fullness. It's coming through and back, through and back. So there's never really a stopping point. Yeah? Yeah. I wish I could see your faces right now. All right, let's take a couple moments. Let's say we have, like, I don't know, about a minute to play around with that in different iterations. Ready, set, go. I just want it to feel ooey gooey and good and spiny and Corey and all the things. Corey? Who's Corey? It's sometimes, like, even though I can do the whole thing to the ground, like, sometimes doing like a little less feels a little better. Good, couple more. When you're finished, come on in for a little rest. Good. And roll all the way up. All right. How did we do? You'll have to let me know how that one worked out for you in our chat. Yeah? Okay. Let's come back. We're going to do just a little bit of strap work again with our resistance loop onto our side line. So just a little bit, and then we'll also integrate the ball for a little inner thigh work. So we can bring that close by. In fact, why don't we use the ball if you have one? A pillow will also suffice. We're gonna take the ball just underneath your rib cage. I like to use this as a reminder to stay lifted. So rather than leaning on it and just using it as a crutch, so to speak, we're gonna just use it as a little bit of a reminder and try to tell our brain to press those bottom ribs more upward. And in that case, sometimes if I put it down to my waist, it serves as a better reminder to lift. If you do have a harder ball, for those of you who have a collection of them, if you have a Yamana ball that's harder, I do avoid putting them closer to my lower ribs because I don't want that much pressure down there. So anything that's hard, like a yoga block or a ball, if you're not used to lifting yourself up away from those kind of props, I don't recommend putting them closer to your floater ribs. But if you are used to lifting yourself up and you trust yourself, of course, I trust you to make those decisions. Just a good kind of reminder for yourself. But I like to put it just right there. It's going to remind me to stay lifted. I'm not going to drop myself down into there because I know it doesn't feel great for me. And then we've got that band just around the top. And I'll just take my hand behind my head. We're just going to do some lifting and lowering here. Now, when I do some side leg work, I'm going just above the level of hip height. Two reasons. One, anything higher for me starts to compromise the position of my pelvis. I don't have that much range in side leg work. Also, I'm really trying to work the pure, what's called abduction. And I feel it. I really feel that side leg work. The other thing I'm trying to do is to keep my leg completely in a parallel position. So that means either toe pointing front or even slightly downward or inward, because otherwise I will default to dancer and point it up. And for me, those aren't the muscles that I actually need to work on. Good. All right, we're gonna do one more. I'd like you to lift it up to a working position and hold it here. All right, let's bring your knee in and then kick it backwards for a little hip extension. So just behind your pelvis. Your hip stays still, your leg goes back. Bring your knee in, press it back behind. Good, if you need a little balance here, hand can go in the front. If not, just reach it back, pull it in, and reach it back. Good. Pull it in, press it back. Pull it in. Oh, this feels lovely. Press it back. One more time. Pull it in, press it back, and we are gonna do just a little. All right, little up, little up, little up, and up. Just 4 more. 4 and 3, 2, and 1. Good. Let it go down. Remember to lift yourself up off that ball. Excellent. All right. Can I do this with this band? The question is probably not. So I'm just going to slip the band down for a moment. We will use it again on the opposite side, obviously. Keep your bottom leg long. Take your top leg here. Okay. We are going to just do a little press and release. Let's see. Do the best you can to bring your foot in front. Ideally, we want to press your hip forward. And from here, I like to hold on to my knee if that's available to you. We're pushing up to try to stretch the sideline. If you let your hip drop back, you don't get a stretch. If you press your hip forward, you get a stretch along that sideline where your ball just was. All right, it's a little tricky, but you have to try to find it. Sometimes you can kind of just like reach for it, reach for it, reach. It can get a little crunchy on the other side too, so do the best you can to find what you need. We'll go for 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's go to the other side. Put the band back on. Again, above your knees. Ball if you like. We'll do this side and then we'll switch back with the ball for the inner thighs. I like to bend my knee. I know a lot of times in proper Pilates we don't bend the bottom knee. I do bend the bottom knee a lot of times just to make sure I'm really targeting the right area for support. All right, press down to lift up. Here we go. Lift and lower. Right in line with that hip, leading with your heel. Trying to feel that support, that growth through the spine, reaching long and keeping the space we just created. That's one of the hard things when we add a little bit more tension to some of these exercises. Sometimes we contract inward, and it's a good metaphor for the stress too, right? Like everything can be going great and then suddenly something knocks us out and all of a sudden we're like, argh. All right, let's add the little lift to the knee, kick it back, pull it in, kick it back, pull it in, kick it way back. Good. Pull it in. These always get me. Trying to stay lifted. Good. Let's sit. Reach, 2 more. Pull and kick. Last one. Pull. Well, it needs to be the last one. Reach. Okay, that's enough of those hips. Let's take this off. My legs are like, you have done enough of those this week. Get out of here. All right, let's take it in front if you can. Pull it up. Keep that ball nearby. And then again, reach, pressing the hip forward and lower. You know, I will say, like, if you don't ever struggle with oblique tension or TFL, QL, all the L's, IT band stuff, side hip stuff, you might not feel much of a stretch here, and it's kind of like, oh, I don't know if I'm doing it right. Sometimes you just don't feel a stretch in places where you're not tight. You know, just explore the range again. Like, sometimes I have to bring in my hand in a little closer. This side tends to be a little looser for me, not quite as tight. Good. Last one. Good. All right. Let us stay here for a moment. We're going to just fold that knee down and lay down, trying to maintain that length that we just created. And then we're just going to lift the bottom leg up and down, little inner thigh up. We're going to pull it all together in just a few. Good. So today was definitely more core integration focused. All the little muscles that go into both supporting and activating and engaging all of the muscles of our core. Our spinal muscles, our deep breathing muscles, our twisting and turning muscles, our bending muscles. Good. We're going to do one more to hold it. Let's draw little circles around and around and around for 4, 3, 2, reverse, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, and lower. Woohoo, okay. Go ahead and reach. Let's come all the way up. Swivel to the other side. We're so close, almost there. Bring that ball. Find yourself all the way down. Ready, set, lift up. Good. Sometimes it can be a good strategy to press into the top leg to get a little more activated. Good. Good. 4 more. And 3, 2, and 1. Hold it here. Ready, set, circle. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, reverse. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. Release. All right. Let's come all the way up. We're going to do one more little exercise with the ball. Let's go ahead and spin around this way. So I want to invite you to use the ball at your lower back, and we'll take our legs forward slightly. So the idea of this last challenge is to help us experience this both compact and expansive shape with a little bit of support at the same time. So I'm going to ask you to walk yourself in, take your hands on your knees first, and then just play around with where the ball needs to be in order for you to come into a space where you can bring your feet off into a balanced position. So for some of us, it's going to be a little further back. For some of us, it's going to be, maybe the ball isn't even the right choice. Maybe it's a bolster, maybe it's nothing at all. So just what is it, where do you need to be in order for this balance to work? Find that shape. And if this is comfortable for you, all we're gonna do is take a breath in, and then we're gonna just kind of compress the ball and see what we can do to pull ourselves in a little deeper, finding that tension to the point of discomfort but not pain. The idea is to be like, nah, I don't like that, but not this hurts me and I'm in trouble, okay? None of that. So it's just breathe in and then breathe out. Just what's the edge of what you don't like, okay? And of course, you have choice and agency always. It's not, you don't have to make yourself super duper uncomfortable, okay? Breathe in, breathe out. It's just like, oh, hips, oh, abs, oh, there's more to see there. When the ball helps, it's almost like you're lifting up away from the ball. There's some things to explore there, you know. Maybe one more. Good. Lower down. Maybe just hang off your legs for a moment. All right, so there's our compression. We know where it is. We're going to take our compression and grow it into expansion. You might do that with your knees bent, or also show you how to extend it into extension. All right, so we're going to start with compression, and then your first option for extension might look like just lifting off the ball to maybe balance on your sits bones a little more and lengthen up on your spine. So it might look like the very tiniest rock into compression, like a rolling like a ball, deep, 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 and then a lift off the ball to lengthen into just like a bigger ball, a longer ball. Rounding, 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 rounding. I'm not resting, I'm deepening, and then lifting up. The second would be more like an open leg rocker. So I might take my hands to my ankles. I might start from compression. And as I extend my spine, that energy reaches up and goes all the way up to my legs. And then as I compress, I pull everything in deep. And as I lift through my spine, that energy reaches to my legs. I'm still connected to the ball, but I'm not resting on it anymore. And then I pull it back down into my center. So choose which one you want to go through. It's been a long time since I've done an open leg rocker, so I'm going to try that because it felt like today I was prepared for it. Let's do a couple, all right? Ready, set, choose yours. So just compression into expansion, creating space. Accepting this is a challenging exercise, just finding what's there for you, thinking about how you can navigate through it. Where can you find ease? Where do you need the support and the strength? Just doing the best you can. Maybe we'll do 2 more. Finishing up our last one. And then come forward into a stretch. And let it all go. All the way through to the end. Keep breathing, everyone. Okay. We played a lot. Stay in your stretch for a moment longer. Good. Let's go ahead and cross our ankles and come back onto hands and knees so we can make our way up to standing. And tuck your toes and just however you'd like to come up. You want to take a forward fold for a moment. So Sometimes that hamstring stretch feels nice after going through that open leg rocker. Letting your head hang over for a moment. And when you're ready, you can bend your knees and just slowly make your way up. Before we move on to kind of the next part of our day, we'll just take a second to feel where we are now in comparison to where we started. Can never make it out of a class in this series without my hair being everywhere. But just notice the difference in the way you're standing, maybe how your weight's distributed. At the beginning, when we stood in the opposite direction, there was a spiral of tension across my body that isn't there anymore. And it was pulling my focus when we first checked in. So I know there's a different organization. I wonder what that is for you right now. And if there's anything that you wanted to revisit from today, I'll definitely encourage you to do that. You know, we spend enough time in these classes for exploration, and I know an hour is a good amount of time to do a virtual class, but I do think when we're looking to facilitate change, it requires enough time for awareness and for noticing. It's a little different than a workout that is about getting the movement in a time with a certain amount of reps. This work is about facilitating a discussion with yourself and, you know, navigating through making decisions and figuring out which ones are the right ones for you. So I hope within this process that the movement is not only offering you some challenges, but it's also offering you the opportunity to, you know, really make some choices that maybe are opening some new avenues towards moving and choosing as you go on through your challenges. So stay tuned for your audio lesson this week, which has some really good little seeds of wisdom and practice for you surrounding acceptance and adaptability. These subjects, I think, are really both abstract and challenging to wrap our brains around, but I think they're also quite necessary when we're working through the day in and day out of the obstacles and the challenges we're facing right now. So I hope that the audio lessons are really meaningful for you. And don't forget that you've got some standalone breathing practices that were dropped into your portal and your audio feed last week. So definitely check those out, and I'll look forward to hearing from you in the chat. Have a wonderful rest of your week, everybody. I'll see you soon.